For 5 years, Gervonta "Tank" Davis has been a name synonymous with power, speed, and precision in boxing's lightweight division. But let's address the elephant in the room: his competition. Despite being one of the most talked-about fighters at 135 pounds, Tank's resume lacks the defining wins that would justify the hype surrounding him. How can someone claim the title of the best lightweight in the world when they've consistently avoided the most dangerous and accomplished fighters in the division? Take a step back and look at Tank's track record. He's undeniably skilled, with knockout power that can end fights in an instant. His fights generate buzz, fill arenas, and bring in pay-per-view buys. But boxing is more than just entertainment. It's about proving who is truly the best, and that's where the problem lies. Tank's most notable win at lightweight is against Eduinix Gamboa, a fighter well past his prime. Gamboa was 37 years old when they fought, coming off an Achilles injury, and had long lost the explosiveness that made him a force in his earlier career. Since then, Tank has faced a string of opponents who, while talented, don't represent the elite of the division. Fighters like Hector Luis Garcia and Rolando Romero were either brought up from lower weight classes or lacked the credentials to be considered top-tier threats at 135 pounds. Let's talk about the fighters who have dared to be great. Teofimo Lopez unified the lightweight division by defeating Vasily Lomachenko, a fighter many considered the pound-for-pound best at the time. He didn't stop there. Lopez moved up to 140 pounds, took on Josh Taylor, and became a champion in a second weight class by defeating one of the best in that division. That's how you build a legacy. Devin Haney is another example. He became the undisputed lightweight champion, defended his titles twice, and then moved up to challenge Regis Prograis, a proven champion at 140 pounds. Haney has consistently sought out big fights, taking risks that push his career to the next level. Even Shakur Stevenson, a relative newcomer to the lightweight division, has shown more ambition. Stevenson has openly called out Tank and other top names at 135, positioning himself as a fighter willing to take on the toughest challenges. In contrast, Tank seems content with staying in his comfort zone. His fights may generate headlines, but they don't answer the critical questions. How would Tank fare against the likes of Lomachenko, Haney, Stevenson, or even William Zepeda? These are the fights that fans want to see, the fights that would define his place in history. And yet, Tank's recent statements about potentially retiring from boxing raise even more questions. If he's truly considering walking away, maybe it's for the best. Boxing doesn't need champions who avoid challenges while claiming the top spot. A fighter who refuses to test himself against the best in his division doesn't belong in the conversation of all-time greats. But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. What if Tank decides to stay? What if he finally steps up and takes on a real challenge? Imagine a fight between Tank and Shakur Stevenson. The clash of styles, the tactical battle, and the stakes would make it one of the most anticipated fights in recent memory. Or, what about Tank versus Lomachenko? Even at this stage of Loma's career, he remains a dangerous opponent with the skill set to trouble anyone in the division. If Tank were to win against fighters like Stevenson, Lomachenko, or even a rising star like Zepeda, the conversation would change overnight. He'd silence his critics, solidify his place as the best lightweight in the world, and finally give fans a reason to celebrate his career beyond highlight reel knockouts. But until that happens, the criticism remains valid. Talent alone isn't enough to earn the title of the best. It's about the willingness to take risks, face adversity, and prove yourself against the toughest competition. And so far, Tank hasn't done that. Some of you might argue, well, Tank sells fights. He doesn't need to fight those guys to be successful. Sure, from a business perspective, that's true. Tank is a box office star, and his fan base will tune in no matter who he fights. But from a legacy standpoint, it's a different story. Years from now, when people look back at this era of boxing, they'll remember the fighters who took risks and achieved greatness, not the ones who played it safe.